Today we're talking about serialization, and this is the second in a series of videos on serialization, which is important to remember because I'm using the same program we started in the first of the series, and I don't really want to go into explaining that program again because basically life is too short. But serialization is a process of storing an object instance to a disk. And we created the object instance in the first program, which we had the user type in a lot of data, and then that got stored into a memory list of collections, which was of student info type, where student info is a class. So we need to serialize this class, in fact this whole collection of classes, into a disk file, which is the basic objective of this video. And to me, serialization is a scary word. I mean, it sounds like you need a PhD in the inner workings of C# or something to do something that's called serialization. Sounds like there's a million steps. And in fact, there's only one call to one method of one object you need in order to do this. It's almost trivial. And there's a couple gotchas. For instance, you need 3 using files. You need using system.io, using system.runtime.serialization, and using system.runtime.serialization.formatters.binary, because the actual object that does the serialization is called a binary formatter. And then you need to put a serialized attribute in front of the class to be serialized, in this case student info. And this will make a lot more sense when we actually look at the code. And then the one call you need is you instantiate the binary formatter object and then do a .serialize and specify a file stream, which is basically an open file you've created, and the class object to be serialized, which in our case would be class info or student record, which is the collection of classes. And that's it, just that one call. That's all you really need. So once again, we're using the same program, which has the input of the data here when you press the save student info, and you can display the data in memory in this multi-line text box when you press display student info. But the one button that's new is the serialize to file. So if we double click on this and look at the code for this, basically we're doing a FileStream fs file.open, and then we're specifying the file name and then a file mode.create, because we want to create the file from scratch. If it already exists, we want to override it. You could use open if you want to open it without overwriting it, but we want to actually create it every time. And it's important to note that this has to be a file stream object. You can't use like stream writer or stream reader or binary writer or binary reader. It's expecting an actual file stream. So that's another gotcha you have to watch out for. And then we instantiate the binary formatter object, which we're just calling B here, as new binary formatter. And then we could do a for each and go through all the student info in the student record collection and serialize each one, and that would work. But actually Serialize is smart enough to know what a collection or an array is, so we can then just say b.serialize, specify the file stream that we have open, and then specify the object we want serialized. And that's it. We just do a file stream close and we're done. So to look at the usings we need, we have these 3 usings: system.io, system.runtime serialization, and system.runtime.serialization.formatters.binary, which is the binary formatter. And then in addition to the collection of student records of type student info, we have the constant string, which is specified as student underscore data dot. Actually, I think I changed this to SFI. Turns out SDF is a database file. It still works, but it's confusing because in the Explorer it says it's a database file. So I changed this extension to SFI. And that gives us the file name that we specified when we created the FileStream. And then the last gotcha, and this really incredibly simple process, is you need to put a serializable attribute in front of the student info class. So we just add a square bracket, serializable square bracket in front of the public class student info, and we're done. That button will now work. It'll take the object from memory and write it to a data file to save it until the next time we want to look at it. So if we look at the actual directory that contains our serializable01.exe, you notice there's no data file here. So we'll see what happens after we run the program. Okay, we're compiling and running the program now. I'll center that better. And say add one Travis McGee /1/4811 and do save student info, and it shows that we have one record in memory now. And say do to Harry Bosch 2/2/48, an average mark of 22, and save that, and it says we now have two records in memory. And if I want to display the records from memory in our multi-line text box, I can just click this button to see what we have. And now to save it to the file, all I do is click this serialize to file button, and it says data has been serialized. Okay, let's close the program and now bring up the directory once again, and we see we have created a file called studentdata.sfi, and this is a binary file, so we can't really look at it with Notepad, but if I double click on it, we can see there's a bunch of overhead with a bunch of binary data we can't see, and we can see Travis McGee is in there and Harry Bosch is in there, so it certainly suggested that it worked, but we won't really know for sure that it worked until the next video. I want you to come back, so you're going to have to watch video 3 to see if it actually worked. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a lot, and I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe.